Welcome to Nightmare Story. I'm Lucas, your guide through the shadows. Here the night is quiet, but never safe. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and follow me into the places where forgotten footsteps echo and old fears wake beneath the darkness. This is where sleep meets terror. Are you ready? Tonight we walk into a place most people would only search on satellite maps before immediately zooming out again. The silent town. Even from the first breath, the air clings to your skin with that odd, too still weight, like someone hit pause on the wind just before you stepped in. Houses stand in crooked rows, windows open like blank eyes, waiting. The moon hangs wider than usual, as if it's leaning forward to watch what you're about to do. And honestly, you probably won't survive this. But tiny detail, don't worry about that right now. You're trying to relax. Before we get any deeper into this totally safe and not ominous at all stroll, a gentle reminder. If you genuinely enjoy my stories, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Now breathe in, settle your shoulders, keep your flashlight steady, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step across the cracked welcome sign at the edge of town, and the wooden board wobbles behind you, tapping lightly in the wind, or what should be the wind. But the air doesn't move. It only pretends to. Your boots crunch over dust that's too thick for a modern town, almost powdery, as if everything has been sitting untouched for decades. The parking lot you left behind feels like the last normal place on Earth, and now, within 2 steps, it's already too far away. You move forward, your breathing slow, your pacing steady, like you're walking into a documentary where you're both the cameraman and the person who definitely should have stayed home. The first street of Silent Town stretches in a narrow line, lit only by the moon and your own nerves. Houses sit shoulder to shoulder, each with shutters slightly ajar, each angled in a way that suggests they've been listening to something for a long, long time. And now they're listening to you. A cat crosses the road, except no, you blink, there's no cat. Just a dark smear of movement, like a shadow remembering it used to be something else. You mutter under your breath, great start. The silence absorbs even that. You keep walking, tuning into the lack of sound. No crickets, no stray leaf rustling, no old metallic hum of power lines, not even the low buzz of your flashlight. The silence is whole, a bubble around the town that swallows whatever enters. You pass a bike left on its side, its front wheel bent inward like a wilted flower. The metal is rusted, but the ground beneath it is untouched, no disturbance, no scuff marks, as if the bike was placed here after everything else settled. You check your phone. 0 signal because of course. You sweep the flashlight across porches. A rocking chair. A dropped newspaper frozen mid-flip. A mailbag half slid from a doorstep. Everything is in the middle of an action that never finished. As your footsteps echo, no, don't echo, you realize something that tightens your chest. Sound doesn't bounce in this place. It just goes in one direction and stops. You test it. Hello. Your voice reaches the nearest wall, then dies. Nothing returns. Somewhere behind you, something shifts. Not a footstep, more like an adjustment, as if something standing still just leaned in a little closer. You turn, flashlight slicing through the quiet. Empty street. Empty porches. Empty sky. You breathe out through your nose, slow. Okay, you whisper, totally fine. A sign up ahead catches your eye. Town Hall, 0.2 miles. Its arrow points into a narrow lane lined with maple trees stripped bare of leaves. Their branches twist upward like brittle fingers reaching for something they never caught. You head that way because obviously the only logical thing to do when a town is silent enough to eat your voice is to walk deeper inside it. You tell yourself you're gathering information. Narratively, you're also increasing the likelihood of being chased by something unspeakable. But that's future. Use problem. You pass the first intersection. A street lamp flickers. Not on, flickers. As in, the bulb pulses faintly without actually producing light, like it's trying to remember what illumination is. You approach it, curious. The metal pole is cold. Too cold. Colder than the night air should allow. You step back, the silence tightens. Then you hear it. A breath. Not yours. Not human. A soft exhale from somewhere above you. You tilt your head back slowly. The branches overhead sway. One of them hangs lower than the others. Too low. As if something heavy used to sit there just moments ago. Your skin prickles. You walk faster. Up ahead, the town hall rises like a square block of forgotten bureaucracy, its front doors slightly open, as if someone slipped inside and didn't bother to close them. The building's windows are darker than the night around them, absorbing the light from your flashlight rather than reflecting it. You push the door gently. It swings inward with no sound. Of course. Inside, the air is colder, but not normal cold, more like the temperature has decided to observe you closely. The lobby is lit only by moonlight leaking in through grimy windows, painting the room in silver and static. Dust hangs in the air but doesn't move, not even when you walk through it. You shine the flashlight across the front desk. Papers everywhere. Coffee mug still full, mold-free oddly. Chairs pulled back as if people left in a hurry, but the objects themselves don't show signs of age. It's like everything was abandoned recently, but the atmosphere says otherwise. You pause in front of a bulletin board crowded with missing person flyers. All of them dated the same day, 15 years ago. Every face looks normal, every description mundane. But at the bottom of each sheet, someone has scribbled a second date with a different pen. Returned. With no answers. Your throat tightens. Then your flashlight flickers. The darkness inside the room seems to shift, not move exactly, but readjust. Like you walked in and the shadows around you went, finally. You slow your breathing. The silence thickens, curling around your ears. You take one step, then another, and from somewhere deeper in the building, a whisper, soft, barely audible. A voice you can't understand, but one that definitely understands you. You freeze, listening. It's not in a language, you know. It's not really a language at all. It's more like the sound of someone speaking through a dream, too muffled to catch. It stops abruptly. Then something taps lightly in the hallway to your right, like a finger on a doorframe. One tap, then two, then silence. You turn the beam of the flashlight. The hallway is long and darker than it should be. You step toward it because curiosity is stronger than your survival instincts, and also because the story demands it. Your shoes press into the dusty floor, leaving faint footprints. Halfway down the hall, you notice something odd. Your prints disappear. Not behind you, in front of you. As in, the floor ahead already has your footprints stamped in place. Identical depth. Identical spacing. Identical direction. You stare at them. Your stomach drops. Something was here before you, walking your route, step for step, as if it knew you were coming. You crouch, touch the floor. The dust is warm. Warm. You jerk your hand back. And then, from behind you, the front door slams shut. No wind. No draft. Just deliberate, forceful finality. You whirl around. The hall plunges into deeper silence. And somewhere in that silence, something stands up. Not close. Not far. Just present. Watching. Waiting. And breathing. You don't turn around. Not yet. You just listen to the expanding quiet, the kind that presses its forehead against yours and says without speaking, "Welcome, you're finally here." You keep facing forward, even though every instinct in your spine is screaming for you to turn around and run headfirst through the nearest window. But you don't move, not yet. You let the silence press against your back, let your senses sharpen. When a place is this quiet, even your heartbeat feels too loud, like it echoes in your bones. You breathe in. Hold. Exhale. Then you turn. Slow. Measured. Calm, like you're a professional ghost negotiator. Your flashlight beam lands on the lobby again. Chairs, scattered papers, that mug still filled with suspiciously fresh coffee. Nothing moves, nothing breathes, but the air feels rearranged, like the room held its breath and only released it when you looked. You step backward slowly, keeping your light steady, sweeping it across corners. Nothing shifts, nothing lunges, but the quiet tightens again, a little closer, like fingers curling. You whisper, barely a puff of air, "If someone's messing with me, congratulations. I'm almost impressed." Not even the silence reacts. You push your shoulder against the hallway wall, grounding yourself as you move deeper. The further you go, the stranger the architecture becomes. The walls feel narrower with each step, the ceiling lower, as if the building is subtly inhaling. Then you notice the first door on your left is cracked open. Inside, a faint glow pulses, soft, blue, almost watery, like light trapped under ice. You shouldn't look. You look. The office beyond is empty except for a single computer monitor still powered on, glowing with an old, pixelated login screen. The screensaver flickers, an outdated swirl of color you haven't seen since early Windows days. The keyboard is clean, too clean. No dust, no fingerprints. You glance behind you, half expected someone to be watching you watch this. You step inside. The air here is slightly warmer, and for a ridiculous moment, you feel comforted. Like this obsolete computer is the only thing in the building that isn't actively plotting something. You reach for the mouse. Before your fingers touch it, the screen flickers. A static, a static, a static. And then a message appears in the center, typed in real time. You're late. You stumble backward, nearly tripping over a chair. Your flashlight beam wavers. The message stays. Not a glitch. Not a frozen frame. A direct, real-time update. You swallow hard. Late for what? You whisper. And the cursor blinks. Then more letters appear. To listen. Another line. Be quiet. It hears when you don't. You flinch as a sound breaks through the silence. A soft scrape, like a shoe dragging lightly across the lobby floor. You freeze. The computer flickers again, and the screen goes black. No goodbye message. No crash. Just off. You back out of the room slowly, keeping your flashlight aimed at the hall's mouth. The scrape echoes again, closer now. Less like a shoe, more like the heavy slide of skin on tile. You tighten your grip on the flashlight and step into the hallway. The lobby is darker now. The moonlight has shifted, leaving most of the floor in shadow. That's when you see them. Footprints. Fresh. Wet-looking. Leading from the front door toward the hallway you're in. Except the front door is still closed. And locked. And the prints end exactly where you're standing. You lift your foot slowly. Your shoe is clean. The prints aren't yours. And whatever made them should be standing directly in front of you. But there's no one there. You kneel, aiming your light. The prints glisten. Not with blood. Not with water. Something thicker. Clear, gel-like. Like the residue left by something that doesn't quite belong in a human world. You stand quickly. Too quickly. Your shoulder hits a framed notice board. The board swings. A paper falls. You crouch to pick it up. It's a town ordinance dated 20 years ago. The headline reads, "Mandatory quiet hours, 24 hours a day. Effective immediately." Beneath that, someone scribbled a warning in sharp, deep grooves. IT like noise. It remembers every sound. It learns you. Your mouth goes dry. Another sound breaks the stillness. Tap, tap, tap. Slow. Deliberate. As if something is testing the floor with a long finger, tapping gently but with growing interest. You turn your head an inch. The taps stop. Silence swells again. You whisper, "Nope, nope, absolutely not," because narratively, If you don't say something sarcastic right now, you might disintegrate. You move down the hallway again, deeper this time, past rows of offices. Your flashlight reveals more oddly preserved items: coffee mugs, jackets slumped over chairs, a child's drawing taped to a wall. None of it looks abandoned so much as paused. Halfway down, a soft vibration hums through the floor. Barely noticeable. Almost like a purr. Then the lights overhead flicker on. Dim. Sickly yellow. Buzzing faintly, not with electricity, but with something like static breathing. You tense. The lights reveal something you didn't see before. The walls are covered in old soundproofing foam. Not just in the offices, but lining the entire hallway. Panels layered, patched, reinforced over and over, like someone desperately tried to muffle every possible noise. You touch one. It's damp. Then something inside the foam shifts. You yank your hand back as the panel bulges outward, like something behind it pressed its palm against the wall in greeting. Then another panel bulges. And another. As if something long and many-limbed is crawling alongside you, hidden just behind the walls. You hold your breath, and the walls hold theirs. The bulges move. Left, down, right, circling you, like it's mapping you. You step backward slowly. 1 step, 2. Then the bulges stop, flatten, disappear. The next sound is tiny. A whisper so faint it might be your imagination or wishful thinking. It says, "Don't run." You run. You sprint down the hallway, practically surfing on adrenaline, weaving past doors and flickering lights. The air thickens around you like invisible hands dragging at your clothes. Furniture trembles as you pass, reacting to your movement like the silence itself is having a tantrum. You burst through a double door at the end of the hall and stumble into a large chamber, an auditorium. Rows of seats face a stage where a podium stands under a dim spotlight. Your flashlight beam sweeps across dust and torn banners. Then you freeze, because every seat in the front row is occupied, not by people, by mannequins. Dozens of them, all facing the stage, all wearing mismatched clothing that looks recently worn. Their plastic heads tilt slightly. Their blank faces reflect the light just enough to seem alive. And on the stage, in front of the podium, sits a cassette recorder. A red light blinking. Recording. You step forward. The red light blinks faster. Faster. As if excited. Then, the recorder plays. A voice, your voice, fills the auditorium softly. Welcome, you're finally here. Your legs freeze. You didn't say that. Not out loud. Not for anything to record. The mannequins all lean forward in perfect unison. The recorder clicks off, and something moves behind the curtain. You don't move at first. You're frozen not out of fear, though there's plenty of that, but because the silence suddenly feels attentive, like the entire auditorium is leaning in, waiting to see what you'll do next. The mannequins remain perfectly angled toward the stage, heads slightly tilted, postures too expectant. Their clothes, work uniforms, faded jeans, floral dresses, hang naturally, as if someone dressed them quickly and recently. Some of them even have shoes with bits of gravel stuck in the soles. Your flashlight passes over each plastic face. No features, no eyes, no mouths. But somehow, every head feels like it's looking at you. You swallow. Okay, you whisper. Cool, normal, love this journey for me. Behind the curtain, something shifts again. This time, the sound is unmistakable. The soft drag of something heavy moving along the floor, like fabric soaked in water. Slow. Deliberate. You step closer to the stage. The mannequins don't move. Then, your flashlight flickers. The red record, light on the cassette player, blinks back on, brighter this time. The recorder clicks, rewinds itself, and plays. A faint, distorted version of your own footsteps fills the auditorium. An exact loop of the steps you took walking into the room. Perfectly timed, perfectly matched. The hair on your neck stands on end. Then the recording stops. Silence expands again. You glance at the curtain. It twitches. You lift the flashlight and walk up the first step to the stage. The wooden plank creaks under your weight. The mannequins' heads tilt a fraction more, as if following the sound. Then, every seat creaks at once. Not loud, not harsh, just a soft reminder. You are not alone. You try not to breathe too loudly. The room is too sensitive, too reactive. You take another step up, placing each foot gently, like you're sneaking up on an apex predator in its sleep. You reach the curtain. The heavy fabric hangs stiff, unmoving, smelling faintly of damp wood and something metallic you prefer not to identify. You pinch the edge and pull it aside slowly. Behind it, nothing. At first, just coils of old stage equipment, ropes dangling from unseen rigging, and several stacked crates labeled town meeting materials. Everything is coated in dust, except for one small patch of floor. Smooth, clean, recently disturbed. Your flashlight lowers to follow the trail. The streaks on the ground shimmer slightly, like thin residue left by something dragging itself. You crouch. The residue glistens faintly, same as the footprints in the lobby. Something was here, and it left just seconds before you arrived. A faint warmth still radiates from the floor. You straighten up, and the curtains, the ones behind you. A shift. One of the mannequins has moved to the base of the stage. You didn't hear it. You didn't see it. It's just there now, tilted upward, looking at you. Its blank plastic face reflects your flashlight beam in a way that makes it look like it has eyes now. Hollow eyes watching. You take a step back. Another mannequin stands beside it. Then another. Their positions are wrong, like someone dragged them quickly into place without checking orientation. A few are slightly off balance, leaning as if caught mid-reach. You back up until your shoulder touches the curtain rod. You whisper, barely audible, "I did not sign up for group participation." As if responding, one mannequin's arm twitches. No sound, no jerk, just a slow shift downward. Your body goes rigid. Then, the recorder clicks. It repeats your earlier whisper in perfect clarity. "I did not sign up for group participation." The mannequins tilt their heads farther, reacting not to you, but to the sound. Realization hits you. Hard. They're not moving toward you. They're moving toward noise. You go absolutely still. Not even breathing through your mouth. Just tiny, controlled breaths through your nose like you're diffusing a bomb. Silence holds. Heavy. Dense. Then, somewhere above the stage, a rope snaps. A sandbag falls from the rafters, slamming into the floor 2 feet from your boots. The mannequins turn toward the impact. Vast. All at once. You use the moment. Without thinking, you slip behind the curtain again, moving softly, hugging the wall as you squeeze through a narrow backstage door. The door closes behind you with a mercifully soft click. You're in a narrow hallway. No lights. No windows. Just your flashlight beam cutting through dust. You walk carefully, placing your feet down heel to toe to make as little noise as possible. The walls here are lined with more soundproofing foam, older, torn, patched with duct tape and stapled fabric. Whatever happened here, a lot of people tried very hard to make sure nothing could hear them. You reach a fork. Left leads to a dark stairwell. Right leads deeper into the building. A soft vibration hums through the left wall. You freeze. The hum is rhythmic, almost like breath, but not human breath. More like a slow rumble from something with lungs the size of the entire building. Yeah, right it is. You turn right, slipping into a narrow office corridor. The labels on the doors are faded but legible. Archives. Records. Town audio log story. Mayor's office. The last one catches your eye. If any place here has answers, it's that room. You reach for the doorknob. It turns too easily. The door slides open without squeaking. Someone oiled it recently. The office inside is large, lined with tall filing cabinets. A massive desk sits under a grimy window. Papers are scattered everywhere, but not randomly, almost as if someone sorted them in a rush but never finished. You step inside, closing the door gently behind you. The room feels warmer than the hallway. More alive. You approach the desk. Something glints in the beam of your flashlight, a small metal device sitting on the blotter, an old handheld recorder. Its red light pulses faintly, like a heartbeat. You left it. The second your fingers touch the cold metal, the recorder wakes. A distorted voice crackles out. Not yours. Not the mannequin's. Something older. Heavier. This place remembers. A static. Then it listens. More static. Then, and it keeps what it hears. The recorder hisses, then shuts off. For good. You stare at it. Then you hear it. Behind the door. Soft. Slow. Wet footsteps. They stop right outside the office. You kill your flashlight instantly. Silence swallows the room. Then, a new sound. The doorknob turning. Slowly. Curiously. As if whatever's outside is testing the metal, learning how it works. The latch clicks. The door begins to open. The door opens only an inch at first, just wide enough for darkness to pour through like a slow leak. No flashlight. No breathing. No movement. You stay frozen behind the desk, crouched low, one hand pressed lightly on the floor to keep yourself grounded. You try not to let your heartbeat rattle, your ribs loud enough for whatever's on the other side to hear. The door opens another inch. Then another. A soft, sticky sound accompanies each tiny movement, as if fingers, too many of them, are gripping the wood from the other side and pulling it inward one joint at a time. You close your eyes briefly. Yep. This is fine. Everything's fine. Just Silent Town's signature, please enjoy your stay, greeting. The door now hangs, halfway open. Enough to reveal the faintest shape, a shadow darker than the hallway behind it, a presence rather than a figure. You can't see details. Your eyes aren't given the privilege. Whatever it is absorbs what little light exists and reshapes it into a silhouette that doesn't match any anatomy you know. A soft scrape drags across the threshold. Then, a silence. You wait. 3 seconds. 10 seconds. A full minute, each second, slow dripping through your nerves like cold syrup. Then something new glides into the room. Not footsteps. Not a crawl. A slide, like weight shifting without limbs. You hold your breath until it aches. The presence moves to the left side of the office, brushing lightly against filing cabinets. Metal groans under the pressure, but not from force, from cold, as if the temperature dropped enough to make the steel contract. The thing stops near the window. The faint reflection in the glass warps. Just for a moment. As if something massive is standing in front of it, blocking out shapes that should be there. Then it moves again. Toward the desk. Toward you. You don't dare lift your head. You feel the weight of it before you see anything. A heavy, sinking pressure in your ears. Your heartbeat slows. Your breath thins, as if the very air is trying not to disturb the newcomer. A soft wet sound finds its way into your left ear. Almost a murmur. Almost a question. Almost a warning. You grip the recorder in your pocket, holding it like a lifeline. The presence leans closer. So close you can feel movement without wind. Not breath, more like the displacement of space. Then, a faint knock. On the floor. Right in front of you. Like a fingertip tapping politely. One tap. Pause. Two taps. Pause. Three. The same rhythm from earlier in the town hall lobby. It knows you're here. It's telling you so. You clamp your jaw shut. Every muscle in your body screams to flee, but you force yourself still. Silent Town doesn't reward movement, or noise, or anything resembling human error. The presence lingers, then retreats slowly. Not out of the room, but to a corner, as if settling itself to watch. A soft pressure builds behind your eyes, like it's waiting, expecting something. You stay frozen until your legs start to burn. Finally, after what feels like 10 lifetimes, the thing slides backward. Out of the room. Down the hall. The pressure lifts. You wait another 30 seconds, pushing your senses as far as they'll stretch. The silence feels empty again. You allow yourself one whisper of breath. Then slowly, painfully, you raise your head above the desk edge. The door is open. The hallway is empty. But the air still holds echo-like ripples, as if something huge moved through it recently. You rise to your feet, legs trembling slightly. You let your flashlight flicker on again with a single press, mercifully quiet. The office looks unchanged, except the papers on the desk have been rearranged. A stack sits neatly in the center now. Lined up, squared off crisp. As if something with extraordinary patience and terrible precision spent time tidying. You approach the pile. On top lies a single document titled Silent Town, Audit of Noise Violations. The list is long. Names you don't recognize. Dates spanning decades. Next to each name is a note. Collected. Returned altered. Then you see the last entry. Dated today. The line is partially filled in. Visitor unknown, pending evaluation. Your stomach flips. You slide the paper away, desperate for a distraction. Underneath is an old, wrinkled map of the town. Not just streets. Sound zones. Areas marked safe, restricted, and one section in deep black ink labeled The Mouth, and a note scrawled beside it. Do not let it hear you dream. A yep. Nope. You fold the map and tuck it into your pocket because, let's be honest, you're absolutely going to violate that warning later. But before you can back away from the desk, your flashlight catches something else. A drawer slightly ajar. Inside, a small metal box sits perfectly centered, clean despite everything around it. You lift it. It's lighter than you expect. You open it. Inside is an old analog device, a kind of handheld tuning meter, needle intact, wires frayed. A label etched into the metal face reads, Silence Gauge, Prototype 3. Measures the pressure of listening. You blink. That sounds horrifying, but deeply useful. Then you hear the sound again. From the hallway. Not the sliding footsteps. Not the tapping. A faint, familiar creak. Like old chairs settling. Like an entire room adjusting its posture. You inch toward the doorway, tuning meter tucked into your jacket. When you reach the threshold, you lift your flashlight. The corridor looks the same, but something feels off. You step into the hall, soft and careful. That's when you see them. Shadows. Not yours. Not any shape that matches the outline of a human. Just long, thin slivers stretching across the hallway floor, cast by no visible source. They shift as if reacting to your presence, slowly curling like tendrils reaching for warmth. You step back instinctively. The shadows creep forward, millimeter by millimeter, testing your boundaries. You freeze again, lowering your breathing until it's barely perceptible. The tendrils pause. You take one small step backward, toward the stairwell you passed earlier. The shadows flatten, then retract. Your throat tightens. The town is testing you. Learning the rules of your movement, your breath, your mistakes. You step again. The shadows don't follow. You reach the stairwell door. It's heavy, metal, thickly insulated. You push it open, slowly, and ease yourself inside. The stairwell is narrow and steep, descending into darkness. Old signs point downward. Emergency shelter. Audio archive basement. Quiet zone, authorized personnel only. You grip the railing. It vibrates faintly. Not from movement, from resonance. Something below is humming. Soft, low, like a massive chorus trying not to wake itself. You descend. Each step creaks lightly. You wince. Even the building seems to scold you. Halfway down, you pause to listen. The hum grows stronger, forming subtle patterns, like waves, phrases, almost sentences spoken in a language of pressure instead of sound. You reach the bottom landing. There's a door, thickly padded, sealed with rubber strips, painted with a warning in faded red letters. Archive of unheard things. Keep your voice still. You place a hand on the door. It's warm. Then something thumps lightly on the other side. Not violent. Not angry. Almost. Welcoming. You swallow hard, grip the handle, and slowly pull it open. And inside, in the pitch-dark archive, a dozen soft voices whisper. Finally. You keep moving, the dim street stretching ahead like a ribbon laid out for someone with far more confidence than you currently possess. The silence presses closer now, not just the absence of sound, but a presence, a weight, a kind of listening. It's the feeling you get when you're sure someone is reading over your shoulder, except here there's no one behind you, allegedly. The shadows seem to tilt whenever you blink, as if they're leaning in to get a better look at what you'll do next. You pass what must have been the town's central intersection, a four-way crossing with a sun-bleached wooden signpost. The signs still hang, though barely. One points toward Maple Ridge, another to West Quarter, a third to a place ominously labeled Echo Road, and the last, oh well, the last has been scratched clean. Not faded, scratched, as in clawed, as in something with either very long fingernails or a questionable hobby spent an afternoon erasing an entire destination. You decide against Echo Road for now. You know basic survival instincts and all that, but you don't say it out loud because the silence feels reactive. Like if you give the quiet a suggestion, it might accept it. A faint breeze stirs, carrying with it the strange, dry smell of old stone and something that might be burnt sugar. You try not to think about why an empty town would smell like carnival snacks left too close to a bonfire. A rusted metal newspaper box sits crooked on the corner. You tug the handle and it screeches open with a noise that seems entirely too loud in this void. Inside, there's a single paper dated June 17, 1989. The headline reads, "Silent Town Celebrates Longest Peace in Its History." And beneath it, in smaller type, "No incidents reported. Citizens grateful." You flip to the next page, but it's blank. Actually blank. No ink, no texture where text used to be, not even water stains. A perfect, untouched sheet. You close it and slide it back in, but the box shuts itself before your hand is clear. You yelp because you're highly brave but also possess functioning pain receptors. "Okay," you mutter, rubbing your knuckles. "You're just metal, definitely not sentient, definitely not hungry." The silence does not disagree, and you do not love that. You drift toward the town square next, a wide, circular plaza paved with stones that don't match. Some are granite, some are sandstone, some look suspiciously like they were yanked from someone's backyard barbecue pit. At the center stands a fountain, bone dry and dust-coated, featuring a statue of something. At first it looks human, then it doesn't, then it looks human again in the exact way mannequins try to fool you from afar. Its face is smooth, completely featureless. No eyes, no mouth, no nose, no anything, just a suggestion of a head perched atop a body draped in stone robes. But someone quite determined, has carved faint lines where the eyes should go. The lines are fresh, not sharp but recent. You press your thumb against the groove and the stone flinches warm. You snatch your hand back, shake it out, and tell yourself the warmth was sunlight. Except there's not much sunlight left, and the stone around the grooves is cold. You look up again, and the head is tilted ever so slightly toward you. Nope, absolutely not. You back away, walking faster than you'd ever admit to anyone who expects you to be cool under pressure. Your shoes clack faintly on the mismatched stones, a sound that should comfort you, but instead seems to echo unevenly, like more than one set of footsteps is responding. You veer down a side street that seems safer simply by virtue of not having animate lawn daycare. The homes here are small, single-story cottages with peeling siding and porches that sway when the breeze touches them. A wind chime clinks gently, 3 notes, soft, nearly kind, until you notice the chime rods are made of keys, house keys, hundreds of them dangling from strands of fishing line. One swings as you pass it, just one, not the others, as if it recognizes a lock you carry. You sidestep it quickly and move on. Further down the street, you find another clue, or maybe an omen, taped to a wooden utility pole. It's a child's drawing, the kind you'd see magneted to a fridge. A crayon landscape of houses, a sun, stick figures. Except the sun has no rays, the stick figures have no faces, and the houses all have giant black rectangles instead of doors. At the bottom, in shaky handwriting, "Don't let the quiet in." The paper flutters, even though the air is still. You swallow hard, but keep going, because stopping feels worse. The next house you reach is slightly different. The curtains are drawn, but not aged. The welcome mat looks recently brushed, and on the windowsill sits a mug, still warm, judging by the fog on the glass above it. Someone has been here, recently. Against your better judgment, and you have several, you step closer. The door is ajar, like someone left in a hurry or wanted you to think they did. You place your hand on the edge and push gently. The hinges give a small, hesitant whine. Inside, everything is neat, too neat, like a display home. A bowl of fruit that's probably plastic sits on the dining table. A kettle rests on the stove, warm to the touch. A coat hangs by the door, grey, size medium, nothing remarkable, except the sleeves are subtly frayed, as if they've been pulled by fingers that didn't quite know their strength. You step deeper inside. "Hello," you say, quieter than you meant to. Your voice is swallowed instantly. A hallway leads further in, lined with photos. Families, friends, people celebrating birthdays and reunions. Except each face is blurred, not by aging, not by damage. Blurred deliberately, smeared with a single horizontal brushstroke. Every smile washed away. You breathe slowly, trying to keep your pulse from punching through your ribs. That's when you hear it. A sound. A real sound. A faint tap. 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 Coming from the bedroom at the end of the hall. You creep closer, each step cushioned by the carpet, but amplified in your imagination. You pause at the door, raise your hand, and push it open. Inside sits a small wooden desk beneath a window, and on that desk lies a notebook. The tapping sound is coming from its cover, as if something lightly knocks from inside. You approach, because curiosity is both your downfall and your brand. Slowly, you open it. The pages inside ripple, like a breath passed through them. Words scrawl themselves across the paper as you watch. You shouldn't be here. Then another line appears beneath it. The town wakes when you read. A cold shiver runs up your spine. Before you can react, something shifts in the corner of the room, a shadow bending the wrong way. You whirl, but there's nothing there. Nothing except the silence, now pulsing, now alive, now almost eager. You slam the notebook shut. The tapping stops. You step back into the hall, but the photos on the wall, they're no longer blurred. The faces all stare at you now. every single one. Eyes sharp, mouths closed tight, as if holding something in. You back out of the house entirely, nearly tripping on the porch steps in your haste. The soundless air outside feels safer, barely. You make it halfway down the street before you risk looking over your shoulder. The door you left open is now closed. And through the front window, the curtains part just a little. Enough for something to watch you leave. You take a deep breath, steadying yourself, and walk on. Silent Town stretches ahead like a maze built by someone with a sense of humor you do not appreciate. But you keep going because the deeper you move, the more you feel that this place, this silence, isn't finished with you yet. And neither, it seems, are the things waking within it. You continue down the narrowing street, feeling the subtle shift beneath your feet. The ground itself seems to hum, quietly, faintly, like a phone vibrating in your pocket, except you definitely left your phone on airplane mode because you assumed ghosts respected boundaries. Spoiler, they do not. The homes grow further apart now, their silhouettes fading into a bluish dusk that feels heavier than the actual hour. Street lamps line the sidewalks, each with glass globes coated in dust. But as you pass them, one by one, they flicker on with a slow, reluctant glow. You don't trust the timing. They don't flicker to light until you're directly beneath them, like they need to see you first. And the silence shifts again. Less empty, more focused. You try not to think about the notebook, or the carved eyes on the statue, or that door shutting behind you on its own. You try not to think about the child's drawing warning you not to let the quiet in. But the problem is, you're beginning to suspect the quiet is already inside you, curling around your breath, nestling in your heartbeat, checking out real estate. At the next bend in the road, a larger building comes into view. Not a home, something municipal. Brick, tall windows, a steeple-like roof. A clock tower sits at the top, frozen at 2:17. The time feels important. You don't know why. As you approach, you see the sign. Silent Town Community Hall. Someone scratched into the metal underneath, messy and shallow. It remembers. You pause at the threshold. The double doors are slightly ajar, just enough for a sliver of darkness to peek out. A breath of cool air escapes the gap and brushes your cheek, too intentional to be random airflow. Still, you step inside because your survival instincts are on vacation. The interior is surprisingly intact. Wooden floors glint beneath a fading coat of varnish. Rows of chairs line the hall, facing a stage draped in burgundy curtains. A lectern stands front and center, its microphone still attached, though the cord snakes off stage and disappears. You walk closer, drawn by something you don't quite understand. A faint echo rolls through the room, but an odd one. An echo without a source. It's the sound of a cough, maybe, or a footstep, or a whisper that got lost and ended up here. The lectern calls to you, figuratively, luckily. If it literally called you, you'd already have left the building at a sprint. You place your hands on its smooth wooden edges. The microphone crackles faintly, even though the hall has no electricity. Then the speakers whisper your name. You freeze. Your heart climbs into your throat and refuses to go back down. The microphone hisses again. A soft voice emerges, your own voice. yet slightly wrong, stretched like a shadow at sunset. You shouldn't speak here. You back up a step, bumping into a chair that wasn't behind you a moment ago. You grab it for balance. The chair legs screech loudly across the floor, so loud it feels intentional, as if the sound is meant to alert something. Then the curtains on the stage ripple. Not from a breeze. The movement is too slow, too deliberate. Like they're being brushed aside from behind. You step away. One more step. Another. The curtains settle still again, but the stage lights blink on in a single blinding flash, and then die, all at once, leaving the hall darker than before, as if the light never existed. You don't wait. You bolt for the doors, pushing them open so forcefully they slam against the walls with a bang that feels like pure relief. The outside air greets you, cooler now, quieter, but somehow more natural than the warped silence inside. You make it halfway down the steps before you feel it. A presence behind you. Not touching. Not breathing. Just waiting. You don't turn around. You've seen horror movies. You have a reputation to uphold. You walk faster, heading toward the outskirts of the square again. As you do, another building draws your eye, a small structure with wide windows and a faded sign that says, Town Records and Archive. A sensible place to find answers. A terrible place to walk into in a ghost town. Naturally, you go inside. It's dim, lit only by the faint blue-gray of dusk filtering through the windows. Rows of filing cabinets stretch across the room like metallic tombstones. You walk between them, the silence swallowing your footsteps. A single drawer sits open near the far wall, just one. You approach carefully, half expecting it to slam shut on your fingers. It doesn't. Inside is a single folder labeled in shaky handwriting. New arrival. You hesitate. Then you open it. Inside, there's just one sheet of paper, white, crisp, as blank as the newspaper's missing pages. But slowly, thin lines sketch themselves across the page. Letters shape themselves, one by one, curling into words. You are being written. You drop the folder. It hits the floor with a sound that doesn't echo. Nothing echoes here unless the town wants it to. You take a step back, ready to leave, ready to run, ready to give up on curiosity for the rest of your natural life. That's when you hear something new. Footsteps. Not yours. Slow, steady, coming from somewhere between the cabinets. You swallow, your pulse pounding like a fist on a locked door. You turn carefully. Nothing. Just row of metal drawers. But then, a drawer on the far side slides open. A head-sized darkness yawns from within. And from that darkness, a hand emerges. Not ghostly, not skeletal. Just a hand, human-shaped, but wrong, too smooth, too pale, too quiet, like a mannequin's hand that learned how to move. It curls its fingers, as if testing the air, as if feeling for you. You stagger toward the door and spill out onto the street, the sky deepening into a bruised twilight. The wind has died entirely. No insects, no birds, no movement. only the steady thrum of something beneath the ground, like silent town, exhales through the soil. You move quickly now, your path illuminated only by those flickering street lamps. You don't know where you're going exactly, just away. Away from the hall, away from the archive, away from that hand. But as you make it past the fountain again, you notice something that freezes you mid-step. The statue. The faceless one. Its head is no longer just tilted. It's facing you completely. And the carved eye grooves. They're deeper now. Two hollow sockets, watching. You back away slowly, breath unsteady. But as you reach the edge of the square, you realize something. You're not leaving footprints. The dust on the cobblestones is undisturbed. Your shoes leave no trace. Silent Town isn't just watching you. It's absorbing you. And somewhere behind you, a whisper slides gently through the air, barely audible, but unmistakably real. Stay. Darkness settles. Your pulse quickens. The silence leans closer. This is where Section 1 begins to draw its breath in. This is where Silent Town truly wakes up around you. And you're nowhere near done. You stand at the edge of the square, breath shallow, watching the last threads of daylight vanish behind the crooked rooftops. The town folds itself into night like it's been waiting for darkness to finally have permission. You can feel it. This place prefers the night, lives in it, breathes in it, maybe even feeds in it. The silence deepens, not just heavy now, but dimensional. You swear you can feel layers in it, like it has thickness, movement, texture. It settles over your shoulders like a coat you did not put on, and each time you inhale, the quiet seems to press deeper into your lungs. And then you hear it, a soft, clicking sound behind you. You don't turn around. You don't need to. The statue at the center of the square shifts again. You don't catch the movement, you only catch the aftermath. A slight change in posture, the faint grind of stone on stone, the way the carved eye sockets tilt just enough to track your position. You tell yourself not to run. Running attracts things. Running makes you loud. But walking requires courage, and you're running low on that in stock. So you slip down the nearest alley, hoping the narrow walls will at least make you harder to see. The alley stretches long and straight, lined with brick buildings that look like they were abandoned mid-renovation. There are buckets of hardened paint, rollers, tarps, and a ladder that rests against a wall at an angle that just screams accident waiting to happen. You skirt around it, because you refuse to be the protagonist who dies from OSHA violations. Halfway through the alley, you notice something strange. The air becomes warmer. Not comforting warm, more like the breath of a sleeping animal. The walls tighten. Not visibly, but the pressure changes. Like the alley itself is inhaling. And then you hear feet. Not footsteps. Feet. Bare ones. Pattering lightly on pavement somewhere behind you. You pick up your pace, keeping your breathing steady. The pattering grows faster too. Quiet, but not quiet enough. Almost playful. A rhythm that doesn't match a person. The taps are too frequent, too light, too uneven. You risk a glance back. Nothing. Just the dark seam of the alley. But then, a shape crawls across the far end behind you. Vast, low to the ground. Too many limbs. Or maybe too few, depending on your definition of normal. You don't linger to identify it. You burst out of the alley into another open street. This one feels different, emptier, colder. The buildings here are taller, more modern, but their windows are blacked out as if painted from the inside. A faded banner stretches across 2 lamp posts, announcing Silent Town Annual Gathering, July 8. Below the text, hand-drawn additions clutter the canvas. Symbols, spirals, crude sketches of eyes, and phrases scribbled in an uneven hand. Listen when it stops. The quiet has laws. Don't answer it. Don't answer it. Don't answer it. 3 times, each sentence shakier than the last. You keep walking. A block later, you find something you did not expect in a ghost town. A moving bus. Well, moving is generous. It rolls at an impossibly slow pace, headlights off, creeping along the road like it's considering its options. Its paint is chipped, its windows fogged. The destination sign above the windshield flickers faintly between static and a single glowing word. Returning. You freeze. The bus doors wheeze open. A blast of cold air fogs out, curling around your legs like fingers inviting you inside. No, you whisper, backing away. The bus door stays open. Waiting. Expectant. Then you hear something from within the dim interior. A chorus of soft, steady breaths. Not one person. Many. Dozens. You catch vague shapes in the window silhouettes, heads turning. Slowly, all at once, in your direction. The doors hiss shut. The bus lumbers past you. No engine sound. No wheels grinding. It moves like a thought, drifting down the road until it rounds a corner and vanishes. You stand alone again. The silence returns in a wave, heavier this time, like the bus took sound with it when it left. You move forward, hugging the sidewalk. The tall buildings cast narrow slivers of darkness across your path, and each time you pass through one, you feel something cold brush your arm. Not a hand, not quite, more like a memory of one. At the far end of the street, you spot something unexpected. A glowing neon sign. The Hush and Hearth Cafe. The sign flickers, pink, then blue, then dead. But the fact that there's electricity here is enough to tug you closer. When you reach the door, your fingers hover over the handle. You don't trust anything with neon in a cursed town, but you also don't trust being outside much more. You push the door open. A bell above the entrance gives a cheerful little ding, the most normal sound you've heard in hours, which automatically makes it terrifying. Inside, the cafe seems perfectly preserved. Round tables, cushioned booths, chalkboard menu. The smell of old coffee lingers faintly in the air, warm and nostalgic. A mug sits on one table. Steam rises from it. Someone is here. You step deeper into the cafe, voice low. Hello. The silence answers with a soft, almost musical hum, like the cafe itself is thinking. Then, behind the counter, you see movement. A figure stands there. A person. A real, actual person. You freeze. They turn toward you slowly, hands clasped politely in front of them. Their features are clear, not blurred, not erased. They look normal, early 30s, calm. Their clothes are old-fashioned but clean, a dark apron tied around their waist. "Oh," they say, smiling gently, "a traveler." Your heart leaps. You're not alone. "Yes," you breathe. "Yes, are you from here?" "Well," they say, tilting their head, "I suppose that depends on what you mean by here." Your smile falters. The figure gestures gracefully toward a booth. "Sit down. You've come a long way." You hesitate, but your legs move on their own, eager for safety, warmth, normalcy, anything that doesn't stare without eyes. You slide into the booth. The figure sits opposite you. They fold their hands on the table, still smiling. But something about the smile doesn't reach their eyes. And something about their eyes doesn't reach you. "You shouldn't be outside at this hour," they say softly. "Not when the silence grows hungry." Your pulse spikes. "H hungry." They nod. Everything here needs something. You lean back, throat dry. "What do you need?" The figure's smile widens. We need memories." You stare. "Memories." "Yes," they say. "We can offer you shelter, warmth, safety, but you must give something in return." You shake your head slowly. "I don't. What does that mean?" The figure leans forward. Their voice drops to a whisper the room absorbs instantly. "Tell us something you've never told anyone." You blink. "What?" "Something small, a secret, a fear, a regret, a truth." Their eyes darken. It will keep the silence away. You feel the air shift. The silence trembles at the edges of the room, waiting. You swallow. "I don't think." "You must," the figure interrupts. "If you don't share something willingly, the town will take something instead." You grip the edge of the table, knuckles white. "What does it take?" you whisper. The figure's smile softens. "Pieces." A chill spirals through your spine. "Of what?" Their eyes gleam faintly in the dim cafe lights. "Oh," they breathe, as if the answer is obvious. "Of you." The silence outside taps against the windows like fingers politely asking to be let in. And you finally understand that the next step forward into Silent Town is not about walking. It's about what you're willing to give up. You sit frozen in that booth, staring at the smiling figure across from you. The cafe hums gently, like a machine running in the background of a dream. The steam from their untouched mug curls upward in a slow, hypnotic ribbon. The scent is faintly sweet, like vanilla mixed with something you can't quite place, something metallic. The figure drums their fingers on the table, each tap soft, deliberate. "Go on," they murmur. "A small truth, A small secret, even a small fear, it will be enough. You swallow. Your throat feels coated in cotton. I don't think this is a good idea, you say quietly. Their smile tightens just slightly. It's not an idea, they reply. It's a rule. You glance toward the door, but the windows have fogged over, thick and white, obscuring everything beyond the glass. The cafe lights flicker, dimming in a slow pulse that matches your heartbeat. You can't tell if the lights are sinking to you or if you're sinking to the room. You try a different tactic. Who are you? You ask. The figure's head tilts, in that way cats do when they're not sure if you're food or furniture. We were residents once, they say softly, before the quiet learned our names. You Stefan. What does that mean? It means, they reply gently, we stayed too long. A crack spiderwebs through your composure. You need to leave. You need to move. You need noise, air, anything. But the figure leans forward and places their hand atop yours before you can rise. Their touch is warm. Too warm. The temperature of something living a little too hard. You're trembling, they murmur. The silence can sense fear. It loves it. It creeps toward it. Their thumb strokes your knuckle. Give me a small truth, a tiny offering, and you walk out untouched. You yank your hand back. I don't owe this place anything. Their smile thins to a straight line. That, they say politely, is incorrect. The cafe darkens. The humming sound lowers in pitch until it becomes a slow, guttural vibration. The walls seem to pull closer, the air suddenly thick with static. The lights flicker again, once, twice, before stabilizing in a sickly yellow glow. The figure rises gracefully from the booth. You don't need to tell me, they say. You can tell the room. You blink. The room. Yes, they whisper. Just speak something aloud. Anything true, anything real. The cafe's shadows stir. The tables creak. The chalkboard menu erases itself in a single wipe, leaving only a smeared black surface that seems to ripple like water. No, you say again, stepping away from the booth. I'm not playing this. Your voice echoes. Once. Twice. Then stops. The silence smothers the leftover vibration, swallowing your refusal like a morsel. And the cafe listens. The figure's eyes gleam. You refuse the offering very well. They lift one hand and gesture toward the door. It swings open on its own. The fog outside glows faintly, like backlit smoke. Leave, they say, but understand, if the town must take something from you, it won't ask nicely. You back away. You don't take your eyes off them until you're out the door and into the cold, fog-wrapped street. The cafe door closes behind you with a soft click that sounds far too final. You exhale shakily, breath plume drifting through the mist. But something's wrong. The street doesn't look the same. The buildings have shifted somehow. Their shapes distort upward, stretching slightly taller than before. Lamp posts bend at subtle angles. The pavement under your feet feels smoother, like it's been polished. And then, a subtle ringing enters your ears. A faint tinnitus-like tone, high-pitched but distant. You cover your ears. It doesn't help. Your heartbeat picks up. The ringing grows clearer. It isn't random. It's rhythmic. 3 notes, repeating, over and over. You know you've heard it before. The wind chime made of keys. Your stomach drops. You turn. There, materializing through the fog, is that same cluster of keys, hundreds, dangling from threads of invisible string, waving gently even though no breeze stirs. But they're not hanging from a porch this time. They're hovering, suspended in midair, drifting toward you. Each key hits another, clinking softly, harmonizing into that 3-note soundscape. The ringing grows louder as they approach, the fog parting like curtains around them. You step backward, but the fog thickens behind you, pushing you forward, guiding you like a pair of unseen hands. The keys float closer, and then one separates from the cluster and spins slowly in the air. A small brass key, old, tarnished, familiar, too familiar. Your chest tightens as you recognize it, because you've seen this key before. Not here, not in Silent Town. At home, hidden in a drawer, attached to something you've avoided for years. A memory you never revisit. No, you whisper, not that one. The key spins faster. The other keys go quiet, hanging perfectly still. And then, a voice whispers from the cluster. Tell the truth. You shake your head violently. No, I'm not giving you that. Another whisper. Then we take instead. The fog around you trembles. The silence sharpens. And the brass key shoots forward, stopping just inches from your chest, pointing directly at your heart. You stare at it, pulse thundering. The air hums. The fog coils. The keys wait. You have 2 choices. Break your own silence, or let Silent Town break something for you. You squeeze your eyes shut, and something inside you, a memory you've barricaded for years, presses forward, desperate to escape, urging release. Your lips part. A whisper forms. But before you can speak, everything freezes. The key drops. The fog recedes. The air softens. All at once, a new sound emerges from behind you. A slow, deliberate clap. 1, 2, 3. You turn slowly. A figure stands in the mist, tall, coat billowing, hat shadowing their face. You can't see their features, but their presence radiates familiarity, like someone who's been watching you since you first stepped into Silent Town. They speak in a calm, low voice. Careful, they say. The town almost had you. Your breath catches. Who are you? You whisper. The figure steps closer, boots crunching on the pavement. I'm the one who can get you out, they say. But only if you listen. The fog curls around their silhouette like a living thing. And if you survive, what comes next? The silence drapes itself over your shoulders again as you push deeper into the inner grid of Silent Town, the streets narrowing just a little, as if the buildings are leaning in to listen. You walk with that slow, half-sleepy pace that somehow belongs to you now, a rhythm that matches the way the air moves here, thick and watchful, like warm breath on the back of your neck. Ahead, the pavement ripples. Not visually, no, the ground stays exactly where it should, but you feel the street ripple beneath your steps the way a sound might ripple across water. A soft tremor shivers through your ankles. You stop. The tremor stops. You take another step. It returns, gentle but deliberate, like someone tapping a finger against the sole of your shoe from underneath. "Okay," you whisper, because whispering feels more polite than screaming right now. You're doing great. You're totally not being followed by something under the concrete. Absolutely normal travel vlog moment. Another ripple answers. You decide not to look down anymore. Instead, your attention drifts to the houses crowding the street. Curtains flutter in windows that shouldn't have drafts. Doors shift on hinges without wind. Faint impressions, shadows shaped like human silhouettes, linger behind dusty panes before sliding backward into deeper rooms. You don't see faces. Silent Town doesn't do faces. It does impressions, suggestions. It does the exact opposite of comforting. As you walk, the hollow sound of each footstep spreads outward in slow, echoless waves. You start noticing patterns. Your steps come back quieter than you made them, like the town is learning your cadence, adjusting your rhythm to match its own. The silence isn't passive anymore. It's participatory, curious, maybe even rehearsing you. A lamp post flickers. Then another. Then all of them. The street lights turn into a string of blinking signals, guiding you toward the old municipal building rising at the end of the block. You remember it from earlier, when you were squinting through the dusk. The one place that felt a little more intact than the rest, as if someone still worked there. Looked after it. Polished the brass door handles, even though the rest of town had surrendered itself to dust and resignation. Now the windows glow faintly from within. A pale, muted light pulses in slow breaths, on, off, like the heartbeat of a creature too tired to pretend it's lifeless. You move closer with that reluctant bravery that comes from having absolutely no better ideas. The sidewalk slopes gently upward. The air around the building is warmer, almost humid, and carries a faint smell of old stationery. Ink, paper, chalk, and something you can't name but absolutely do not trust. The moment your hand touches the door's handle, the pulsing light stops. The interior goes still, a stillness deeper than silence, a held breath. You push the door open. It sighs like something waking up. Inside, the municipal hall is frozen in time, desks with open ledgers, chairs pulled back as if someone stood a moment ago, typed pages abandoned mid-thought. A typewriter holds a half-finished sentence, the ink still dark, not yet faded, which is weird, very weird, extremely someone was here yesterday weird. You lean close to read the leftover line. Don't trust the echoes, they are not yours. You blink slowly, letting that sink in. You don't have many rules in Silent Town so far, but that one feels important enough to carve into your brain. You straighten, and that's when you hear it. The soft, unmistakable clack, clack, clack of typewriter keys behind you. You turn around. No one is there. But the typewriter that just warned you isn't done speaking. New letters stamp themselves onto the page, one at a time, as though struck by invisible fingers. You have a visitor. Your stomach drops to somewhere around your ankles. You do that thing where you pretend not to panic. You're proud of how good you are at pretending, truly Oscar-worthy work. But then, the silence changes. It deepens, thickens, folds in on itself like fabric being twisted. And from the far hallway, dark, narrow, unlit, you hear the faintest imitation of your own footsteps. Exactly your rhythm. Exactly your weight. Exactly your gait. Coming closer. Not yours. Not human. You swallow because people in stories always swallow at moments like this, and you're trying to be genre appropriate. You look back at the typewriter for guidance, for one more conveniently timed message, but the keys stay still. The footsteps echo again. A perfect copy of yours. Only this time, there's a second set behind them, not copying you, doing their own thing, a different weight, a different pace, a stagger, a drag. The hairs on your arms stand so tall they might apply for local zoning permits. You take a step back toward the door. The double echoes take a step forward from the hallway. And just when your hand reaches the doorframe, something finally speaks. Not with a voice, not with breath, but with the silence. A pressure forms behind your ears, shaping itself into meaning, as if the emptiness of the building is gently pressing a thought into your skull. If you leave now, they will follow. If you stay, they will listen. Neither option is ideal. You glance back into the hall just long enough to see the hallway's darkness fold inward, swallowing the last sliver of light, as though something enormous is positioning itself just beyond sight. You whisper, "This is why I don't go outside." Then you take another step back, and the silence grins. The silence trails you out of the municipal building like a long shadow that refuses to detach. You step back into the open street, the door easing shut behind you with a softness that feels almost considerate. The air outside is cooler than before, touched with a thin metallic chill that slides down your spine like a cold fingertip. Silent Town has shifted again, subtly but unmistakably, its streets rearranging into some new configuration while you were inside. You turn left, expecting to see the way you came. You don't. Instead, a long, straight road stretches forward into a dim horizon, lined with houses that weren't here earlier. Roofs slant at unfamiliar angles. Windows glow faintly with an inner haze, like frost lit from behind. The whole street breathes, slowly, deeply, its rhythm syncing with your own pulse in a way that is not comforting and never will be, no matter how many times the town tries to convince you otherwise. You exhale. The town inhales. A long moment passes before you mumble, "Yep, totally normal. This is exactly what GPS avoidance therapy looks like." A soft hum stirs in the distance. Not a sound, exactly, more of a vibration that begins somewhere beneath the pavement and moves upward like rising heat. It glides through your shoes, up your legs, into your ribs, settling behind your sternum like an unwanted tenant. You stand still until it fades, and when it does, the streetlights flicker awake one by one, as though acknowledging your presence. You follow their glow. The lamps guide you deeper into this reformed neighborhood, the walkway narrowing into a corridor-like funnel. Houses lean closer together above you, their rooftops nearly touching overhead. It feels like walking through a throat, but you know, in a charming way, a real, perfect for a haunted air-blisting vibe. A window creaks open. You freeze. Another window follows, then another, until every house along the corridor cracks open its shutters, not wide, but just enough that you sense dozens of unseen gazes lining both sides of the path, watching, measuring, adjusting their expectations of you. Then, from the far end of the corridor, a figure appears. At first, it's just a darker shape within the shadows, humanoid, still, waiting. You can't see its face, but something about its posture makes your ribs tighten. It stands with its head slightly tilted, the way someone does when trying to match your breathing. The kind of tilt that says, "I know you." The kind of tilt that says, "I've been expecting you." You step forward. The figure does not move. You take another step, still nothing. But on your third step, it lifts one arm. Slowly, deliberately, and points behind you. You don't look. Because the moment its finger rises, you hear the shuffle, fast, dragging, unsteady, from somewhere far too close. The not-quite footsteps that chased you inside the municipal building. The echoes, the ones mimicking you, and the one that wasn't mimicking you at all. The figure keeps pointing. Your instincts finally shout louder than your curiosity, and you start moving, not running, but walking with that strong, confident, totally not freaking out pace of someone who absolutely should be running, but refuses to commit to cardio. As you pass the figure, its head rotates, not turns, rotates, to follow you. And in a low, soundless pressure you feel behind your teeth, a message forms. They remember you now. You don't respond. Instead, you reach the end of the corridor, where the houses abruptly fall away into a wide plaza you haven't seen before. The cobblestones here are smoother, cleaner, almost polished. The silence is different too, still heavy, still alive, but older, ancient, like you've reached the heart of what silent town has been hiding. A circular fountain sits in the center, dry and cracked, but etched with symbols that don't match any alphabet you know. They curl and spiral like vines around a stone basin, forming patterns that seem to shift when you're not looking directly at them. You step closer, the air warming again with that faint breath of stone feeling. And then, a whisper rises from the fountain. Not words, not voices, but memories. Memories that are not yours. A woman's relieved sigh. A child's quick laugh. A man's final, choked breath. You stagger back as the echoes pour upward like smoke, swirling around the dry fountain's edge. They drift toward you, not shapeless, but forming silhouettes. Suggestions of the people who once lived here, the missing residents. Their outlines pulse faintly in the dim light, as though waiting for something or someone. One silhouette steps forward. Its shape flickers, dissolves, reforms. And in a trembling echo of your own voice, it whispers, "You came back." The whisper hangs in the air, trembling like a thin thread stretched too tight. You step backward instinctively, because hearing your own voice coming from a silhouette of a stranger is the exact kind of plot twist you were hoping to avoid tonight. The figure flickers gently, its outline rippling like heat rising off asphalt. "You came back," it repeats, your cadence, your tone, even that tiny inhale you always do before speaking. It's eerie, uncanny, and also slightly rude. Like, excuse you, that's your voice. At least ask permission before borrowing your entire sound profile. You swallow, but your throat feels dry, as if the fountain has stolen the moisture straight from your mouth. More silhouettes drift around the basin, each faint and trembling, each exhaling wisps of stolen memory. They watch you, not with eyes, but with attention. Heavy, quiet, collective attention. The kind that settles on your shoulders like invisible hands. You take a careful breath. The nearest silhouette shimmers, then reshapes. Not into you, but into someone else entirely. A slender figure. A posture you recognize, but from where? Their head turns toward you with that same tilt you saw earlier in the street. And then you understand. These are residuals, echoes of people silent town has absorbed. People who wandered too far in, listened too closely, stayed too long. The silence didn't just swallow them, it archived them, catalogued them, preserved their impressions like pressed flowers inside a book that no one was meant to open. The echo wearing your voice tries again. You came back. Each word fractures slightly, its form trembling, as though the town isn't entirely sure how to sculpt a voice as complicated as yours. You step closer, not bravely, not foolishly, just because the alternative is walking away while your own voice begs for recognition. And you, apparently, are too soft-hearted for that. The silhouette reaches out a hand. Its fingers unravel into tiny particles of dim light, drifting upward like fireflies trying to remember their choreography. You hesitate before extending your own hand, a slow, gentle movement like petting a nervous animal. But before your fingers reach the residue, something changes. The silence deepens. The plaza cools. And every silhouette freezes. Not in fear, not in awe, but in obedience. A soft vibration hums beneath your feet, low, resonant, ancient. It feels like a heartbeat the size of the plaza. The fountain's symbols brighten faintly, their lines pulsing with the same rhythm. Even the air seems to tighten around you, pulling you inward with delicate insistence. The silhouettes turn in unison toward the far edge of the plaza. You follow their gaze. A figure stands there. Not an echo. Not a silhouette. Not an impression. A person. Or something wearing the shape of one. Tall, thin, wrapped in a dark, almost liquid-looking coat that moves like smoke around their legs. Their head is angled downward, obscured by the shadow of a wide-brimmed hat, old-fashioned, battered, and dusted with the same pale residue that coats silent town's windows. They lift their face. You expect no features, but instead you see too many. Fragile outlines of countless expressions shift across the figure's face. Laughs, screams, neutral gazes, cycling so fast they blur into a soft haze of borrowed identities, like the town itself is trying on memories to decide which one fits best. The figure steps forward. The ground hums in response. Another step. The silhouettes bow their heads. The figure's voice rises, not from a mouth, but from the silence around you, shaped from absence rather than sound. You do not belong to the echoes. The words settle into your bones like weight. Not yet. You take a small step backward. The figure tilts its head, calm, patient, curious. Not hostile. Not friendly. Something worse. Invested. The figure gestures toward the fountain with one slow motion, and the dry stone basin stirs. Dust lifts. Cracks fade. Water, clear, cold, and shimmering with flecks of faint light, fills from the bottom upward, rising without any visible source. The symbols around the rim glow brighter. The figure speaks again. Silent town remembers those who listen. The water pulses. And you have listened. You feel it now, memories that aren't yours brushing against the edges of your mind. Faces, names, footsteps, final moments, longing, regret, like the town is offering you a library card to its archive of missing people. You clamp your jaw shut. You didn't consent to any of this. The figure draws closer. The echoes lean in. The silence strengthens its grip. You know one thing instinctively, deeply, primally. Whatever silent town wants from you, it is ready to take. The figure stops just a few paces from you, close enough that the air around it bends subtly, as if reality is trying to lean away but can't. You fight the urge to step back again, mostly because you're running out of space and dignity. The echoes crowd around the fountain, their dim, trembling outlines flickering with quiet anticipation. They're waiting for something. You just really hope that something is not you. The water in the fountain ripples outward in slow concentric rings, each one perfectly synchronized with the deep, rhythmic thrum beneath your feet. Every pulse spreads through the plaza like a heartbeat that doesn't belong to anything alive, at least nothing alive now. You stare at the water a little too long and swear the ripples begin forming shapes. A doorway, a road, the outline of a person dissolving grain by grain. You blink, the water returns to ripples. The figure in the coat raises its head slightly. The moving features across its face slow, rearranging themselves into something vaguely human. Not your face, not yet, but something that feels disturbingly, almost, like a rough sketch of you made by someone who only ever saw your reflection on the surface of a spoon. The voice comes again, soft, deep, pressed straight into your thoughts. You are not lost. You almost laugh. You actually do a tiny nasal snort, which you immediately regret because the figure tilts its head sharply at the sound, analyzing it, filing it away for later use like it's collecting samples of your personality. You whisper, "Okay, no more snorting, got it." The figure takes one slow step closer. Then another. The air around you compresses, not painfully, but insistently, like a hand pushing gently against your chest. The silence becomes denser, heavier, swirling with the faintest hum of memory. You can taste something metallic at the back of your tongue. It feels like breathing in someone else's thoughts. The figure's presence settles in front of you, its coat brushing lightly against the dust without disturbing it. You sense a strange gravity around it, a pull that isn't physical, but mental, emotional, and deeply uncomfortable. The echoes shift behind it like a curtain of restless shadows. Finally, the figure lifts one hand. Its fingers are long, too long and faintly transparent at the tips, like the town hasn't quite decided how solid it wants this thing to be. The hand hovers inches from your face, not touching, but radiating that pressure you've been feeling since you arrived. And then, you hear a whisper. Not from the plaza. Not from the figure. Not from the echoes. From inside your head. Let me remember you. You freeze. Because the words aren't spoken, they're recollected. As if the town is pulling a fragment of your past, a thought you never said aloud, and echoing it back to you. Your heartbeat thuds in your ears, and the sound is immediately swallowed by the air, consumed and stored like fresh data. You whisper no, nope, absolutely not, hard pass, denied, declined, unsubscribe. The figure does not move, but the silence tightens. The echoes lean closer, their outlines wavering eagerly. You feel the faint brush of something, like fingertips made of fog, touch the surface of your thoughts. Not your mind, not your memories, not yet. Just the outside, testing the shape of you, measuring the edges. You stumble back. This time, the figure follows. You have walked our streets. Its voice winds around your spine like a cold ribbon. You have heard our echoes. Two echoes behind the fountain begin mimicking your breathing again, matching your rhythm a beat too late. You have stood where the forgotten stood. The water in the fountain brightens, a soft silver glow rising from its depths. And now, the silence pulls tight. The figure raises its hand higher. Silent town will keep what you leave behind. You feel something shift in the air, an invisible hook sinking into the outline of your thoughts. A gentle, terrifying tug, not ripping, not taking, but teasing at you, testing how easily you might separate from yourself. Reflex takes over. You jerk away, breath shuddering. The plaza responds instantly, lights dimming, shadows deepening, stones trembling underfoot. The echoes shiver in disapproval, their forms blurring. The figure's face fractures into a dozen mismatched expressions. Your laugh, someone else's cry, a stranger's whisper, before settling into something unreadable. Slowly, the figure lowers its hand. The silence loosens, but only slightly. And with a voice woven from 100 stolen tones, it murmurs, "You will return." The plaza hums in agreement. Everything does. You don't respond. Because in the corner of your eye, something else just moved. Something behind the fountain, where the shadows have started to gather into a shape that looks nothing like a silhouette, nothing like an echo, and nothing like anything Silent Town has shown you before. and it's watching you. You keep your eyes fixed on the figure in the coat, but the movement behind the fountain thickens, slow, deliberate, patient. Whatever is forming there isn't rushing. It doesn't need to. The entire plaza seems to lean toward it, the way trees bend toward a strong wind. Even the echoes falter, their shapes flickering like candle flames disturbed by a draft. Then you see it. At first, it's only darkness, an absence so dense it swallows the faint glow of the fountain's water. But as the mass unfurls, its edges sharpen into something vaguely bipedal. Tall, too tall. Its arms hang low, almost dragging, their length disproportionate in a way that prickles every instinct you have. No face, no distinguishing features, just an outline so black it looks like it's cut out of reality itself. The figure in the long coat turns toward it. Not quickly, not nervously. Reverently. The echoes drop to their knees, every single one, bowing toward the new arrival. Their trembling intensifies, as if the very presence of this thing destabilizes them. You stand very still, because something in you understands that movement, any movement, might draw attention you are not emotionally prepared to receive. The darkness leans forward. A soft vibration rolls through the air, deeper than the plaza's heartbeat. It pushes against your ribs, your lungs, your spine. Your bones feel it. Your thoughts feel it. It's not sound, it's sensation. Like pressure from a storm front, but more personal, targeted. The thing shifts. And in its shifting, you hear something impossible. Your name. Not spoken, not whispered. Remembered. You inhale sharply, and that's enough. The shadowed shape turns toward you fully, as if your breath was an invitation. Its outline wavers, expanding and contracting like a living ink blot trying to decide which shape fits it best. The figure in the coat steps aside, giving the new presence a clear path to you. You whisper almost too softly to hear yourself, "No, thank you." Then, a little louder, "No, thank you forever. Eternal no, thank you." The darkness moves. It glides forward without touching the ground. Its edges stretch, reaching, not with arms, but with something like intent, like recognition. It wants something from you. It knows something about you, something you didn't give it. Your heartbeat stutters. The plaza responds. The fountain's water turns still, perfectly smooth, as if terrified to ripple. The symbols carved around the stone pulse once, sharply, urgently, like a final warning. The air thickens. The shadow pauses only a few feet away. The space between you and it vibrates with a low hum, a frequency you feel in your teeth. You try to step back, but your body refuses. Not paralyzed, just uncooperative, as if the town itself is holding you in place. A tendril of darkness detaches from the creature's outline and drifts toward your face, slow and delicate, almost gentle. You flinch. The tendril stops, then retracts. It's studying you, trying to understand you, trying to choose the right shape for what comes next. Behind the shadow, the fountain water trembles, finally breaking its stillness, as if reacting to the creature's interest. The shimmering reflections distort, stretching into blurred memories that aren't yours. A man running down an alley. A woman screaming without sound. A child hiding beneath a staircase. A familiar silhouette walking through the same plaza you're standing in now. Your breath catches, because that last silhouette looks like you. Not similar, not close, exactly you. The shadow tilts its head, acknowledging what you just saw. A ripple of cold slips through your chest. Silent Town didn't wait for you to return. Silent Town made a version of you long before you arrived. The creature steps closer, one smooth, impossibly quiet glide. That pressure builds again, heavy and full of intent. And then, the figure in the coat raises a hand sharply. The shadow stops, not in obedience, in annoyance. A distortion ripples through its form, its edges crackling like burnt film. The plaza trembles. The echoes lift their heads uncertain. The coat-wearing figure doesn't waver. Its voice swells, not loud, but commanding, woven from layers of memory. Not yet. The shadow recoils, just slightly, and the air loosens around you enough that you stumble backward. You catch yourself on the rim of the fountain, breath sharp and shaky. The coat-wearing figure turns toward you again. The moving faces across its surface shift into something resembling a warning. Run. You blink. The word hits you harder than any threat. Now, the plaza pulses. The echoes rise. The shadow unfurls. And Silent Town stops pretending it wants to understand you and begins hunting you instead. You don't think. You just run. Your legs finally listen, jolting into motion the instant the coat-wearing figure gives the command. The plaza bursts into movement behind you. Shadows tear loose from the fountain's edge. Echoes scatter like startled birds. The ancient hum beneath the stones rises into a deep, resonant growl. The air thickens with pressure. The shadow creature surges forward. Not sprinting, not gliding, folding. Its shape collapses inward and reforms closer to you, like a stuttering frame in an animation reel, reality skipping seconds as it hunts. You duck beneath an archway leading out of the plaza, your breath ragged, chest tight. The arch squeezes around you like the town is resisting the idea of letting you escape. Stones shift. The air compresses. Your shoulder scrapes the narrowing wall, and for a moment you swear Silent Town is trying to swallow you whole. But you force yourself through, stumbling into a narrow lane. Behind you, something scrapes across the plaza stones. A sound like claws made of nothing. You push harder, sprinting down the lane as windows slam shut overhead. Doors seal. Curtains whip. Every house hides from what chases you, withdrawing into itself like a nervous animal. Even the silence changes, no longer curious, no longer watchful. Now it's terrified. A shadow spills across the ground behind you like ink poured from an overturned bottle. You don't look back, not fully, just enough to catch a glimpse of darkness stretching unnaturally long, reaching for your heels like a hand made of night. You cut right into a side street. The town changes the path instantly, buildings shifting, angles bending, the street subtly elongating as if trying to lead you somewhere. You don't know if it's guiding you or corralling you. Probably both. Silent Town loves multitasking. You sprint past a post office that wasn't here earlier, past a pharmacy whose shelves rattle from unseen footsteps, past houses whose windows pulse faintly with the last impressions of the people who once lived inside. Behind you, the shadow creature folds forward again. Each fold brings it closer. You feel its presence pressing against your spine, cold and huge and hungry. Your shadow on the ground stretches unnaturally long, merging for a split second with the darker one chasing you. You yank yourself around another corner. And stop. Dead end. Just a tall brick wall and a row of boarded windows, all sealed, all silent. Your heart slams against your ribs. The hum beneath the ground rises again, rattling the wall in front of you. You whirl around. The shadow stands at the mouth of the alley. It doesn't move, but its outline wavers in anticipation. Your breath shakes. You back up until you hit the wall. The creature takes one step, one simple, casual step, and the alley contracts around you. The air thins. The silence crushes inward. You feel your thoughts vibrating, loosening, like the town is preparing to archive you, to carve your memories into the stone the way it has done 1,000 times before. The shadow expands. Its outline spreads onto the ground, the walls, the air, blooming outward like a stain. It begins to form an impression, your shape, your height, your posture, as if it's rehearsing the version of you it intends to keep. You choke out a whisper, "Please don't." A soft ripple answers, not from the shadow, from the wall behind you. The bricks shift. A seam you didn't notice widens just enough that a cold draft slips across your back. You glance over your shoulder. A door, thin, warped, and absolutely not there a moment ago, stands open behind you, dark as a cavern. In the alley's mouth, the shadow rears upward, preparing to lunge. You don't hesitate. You dive through the doorway. The door slams, shut the instant your foot crosses the threshold. Darkness swallows everything. A deep, crushing, absolute black. The shadow strikes the door from the outside. The impact shakes dust from the ceiling. Another hit, then a third. But whatever room you've fallen into holds firm. The door does not break. The vibrations fade. The hunting silence withdraws like a receding tide. You collapse to your knees, trembling, listening. Nothing. Just your own breath. Slowly, your eyes adjust. A faint glow pulsing through the gloom reveals shelves. Rows upon rows of dusty boxes, old tablets, brittle ledgers, reels of film, carved stones covered in those same curling patterns. You realize where you are. The archive. Silent Town's memory vault. The place where everything it has ever taken is stored. A soft light flares behind you. You turn. The figure in the coat stands in the doorway's shadow, not inside, not outside, just there, watching with its ever-shifting face, expressions flickering like shuffled cards. "You were not meant to see this," it murmurs, voice soft, heavy, and strangely tired. You try to speak. Your voice fails. It lifts a hand, not to take, not to pull, but to warn. Leave this place, it says, before it chooses you. One expression finally settles on its face. A human one. Sad. You still have a path out. The shelves shake. A distant roar trembles through the walls. The shadow creature has found another way in. The figure's voice cuts through the rising hum. Run. You don't need to be told twice. You sprint toward the far end of the archive, where a faint outline of a staircase descends into deeper darkness, but a darkness that feels open, not hungry. A final, deafening impact splits the room behind you. You don't look back. You run. Straight into the waiting dark. And Silent Town closes behind you one last time. The darkness around you gradually settles, no longer a place of panic or pursuit, but a quiet cocoon of stillness. Your footsteps slow, then fade entirely, until you're simply drifting in a calm, open space where nothing presses in and nothing follows. The air becomes warmer, softer, almost gentle. It feels like Silent Town has released its grip at last, letting the tension inside your chest dissolve one careful breath at a time. You inhale slowly. You exhale slower. The hum beneath the world quiets into something steady and peaceful, like a distant lullaby drifting through thick midnight air. That frightening pulse that once trembled beneath your feet now feels far away, as if it belonged to someone else, in another story you no longer need to carry. Your shoulders loosen, your heartbeat steadies. The soft dark wraps around you like a blanket. You keep moving forward, but there's no urgency now, only a slow, drifting motion, as gentle as a leaf gliding across still water. Each step lands lighter than the one before it. The world feels softer, quieter, safer. You can't hear the roar of the shadow. You can't feel the town shifting. All that remains is a faint, distant echo, fading like a memory that no longer asks anything of you. A peaceful glow begins to rise before you, warm as the first light before dawn. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't pull you. It simply waits, a calm presence that fills your mind with ease. You breathe deeply, letting the warmth spread through you, slowly through your chest, your arms, your legs, all the way to your fingertips. You have escaped. You are safe. And as the glow grows brighter, you sink into its warmth. Let everything go. Let your body grow heavy. Let your mind drift. You can rest now. You can sleep.